The ruins of Baitul Maqdis held nothing but silence. A man rides slowly into the city on his donkey, a city that once pulsed with life. Now there is only ash, crumbled walls, scattered bones. In the air, a strange breath-held scent, the scent of death. The man stops. His eyes sweep the horizon. Not a single bird, not a single sound, just dust and stillness. And then a question rises in his heart, a question that will be recorded forever in the Quran. This city, so utterly destroyed, these bones, these ruins, could life ever return here again? But this was only the beginning. This man was no ordinary traveler. He was a righteous, knowledgeable servant of Allah. Most commentators identify him as Hazrat Uzair, A.S. He had been passing through on a journey, and his path led him through Baitul Maqdis, the very city destroyed by Bukhtasar's army. Homes burned, people slaughtered, survivors dragged away into slavery. Once, this city had been a symbol of Bani Israel's glory. Now, only a ghost town remained. Uzair, A.S., dismounted. Standing amid the ruins, he spoke the words that are preserved to this day in the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 259. How will Allah bring this back to life after its death? This was not a question of doubt. It was a question born of awe. A servant humbling himself before the majesty of his Lord. Then something happened that no one could have expected. Allah caused him to die, right there, at that very moment, amid the ruins, but this was no ordinary death. Uzair, A.S., had tied his donkey to a tree. Exhausted from travel, he opened his bag. Inside were grape juice and figs. He ate, drank some water, and sat down to rest for a while. And then his eyes closed. But this was not sleep. Allah drew out his soul for a full 100 years. Think about it for a moment. One instant he stood in awe before the ruins. The next, his body stepped outside of time itself. No pain, no sensation. Just one moment, and 100 years had passed. Outside, the world transformed. Bukhtasar's empire collapsed. Bani Israel were freed. Baitul Maqdis began to rise again. Generations changed. Children grew old. The old passed away from this world. And Uzair, A.S., he remained right there among the ruins, suspended in a single drop of time. Then, 100 years later, Allah sent his soul back. His eyes opened. Silence. The sun still hung overhead, as if nothing at all had happened. A voice asked, "How long have you remained here, dead?" Uzair, A.S., gathered his senses, glanced at the sun, and answered, "A day, or perhaps less than a day." Such a simple answer, such innocent certainty. He had no idea what had truly passed. But Allah's response was about to shake his entire world. "No, you have remained dead for 100 years." The silence grew even deeper. "Look at your food and drink," the voice said. Uzair, A.S., lifted his bag. The grape juice, perfectly fresh. The figs, as if just picked. 100 years had passed, yet not a single drop had spoiled. This alone was a sign, but the true sign was still to come. "Look at your donkey." Uzair, A.S., turned, and what he saw was nothing short of a cinematic moment. Where his donkey had been tied, there now lay only white bones. Scattered, dried out, a century's worth of dust settled upon them. But then, the bones began to move. One by one, each bone slid into place. Spine, ribs, legs, as though some unseen hand were assembling them again. Then flesh began to grow over them. Then skin covered the flesh. And then, a loud sound, the bray of a donkey, tearing through the silence of those ruins. The donkey was alive, exactly as before. It stood, shook its head, as though nothing at all had occurred. Uzair, H.S.'s hands trembled. Only one sentence left his lips. "I know that Allah has power over all things." This is the very sentence recorded in the Quran to this day. A man witnessing with his own eyes a small glimpse of the day of resurrection.
Welcome
but the story
home,
does
my
not
boy.
end here. Uzair, A.S., mounted his donkey and rode toward the city, the very city he had seen as ruins only hours before. But the moment he entered, his eyes widened in disbelief. The city had been rebuilt. Homes stood again. People walked the streets. Markets echoed with life. Yet not a single face recognized him, because no one from his time was still alive. He made his way toward his old home. At the door stood an elderly woman, so old that her eyes could barely see. This was his own daughter, who had been a small child when he left, and was now 100 years old. At first, no one believed him. How could it be possible? A young man, his hair still black, claiming he had left 100 years ago. But then, Allah placed one more sign before them. His daughter, or in some accounts, his grandson, said, "My father had a particular mark on his back." When that mark was revealed, everyone stood frozen in shock. And when Uzair, A.S., began reciting the verses of the Torah from memory, and every word, every detail exactly correct, the people wept. Because only one man could remember the Torah with such flawless precision. That man was the very one they had believed lost for 100 years. This story is not simply a miracle. It is a message for every person who wonders how life could possibly return after death. For everyone who looks only at ruins and loses all hope. Allah showed Uzair, A.S., if He wills, dry bones can be brought back to life. If He wills, 100 years can pass like a single moment. And if He wills, the very thing that looks utterly finished to you may simply be the first step toward a new beginning. This is the greatest lesson of the Day of Judgment. Hold on to patience, hold on to faith, because Allah's power is greater than time itself and greater than death itself. But the real question still remained. If Allah could raise one man back to life 100 years later just to display His power, then what will happen on that day when all of humanity, every grave, every bone, every fragment of dust, rises together at a single call? This story does not end here, because the next question belongs to the field of judgment itself, and that story comes in the next part.